Overseer's Log 12, The Price of Victory. Hello, Vault Dwellers and Wastelanders. You are listening to a new episode of the Overseer's Log. My name is Kyle, and this is our behind-the-scenes episode I film in conjunction with our primary TTRPG. We'll be recording that tonight. This week has been absolutely crazy. We've been without power for 3 days, pretty well highlighting the collapse of the United States as we know it. People in this area have been without power for 4 or 5 days. It's absolutely ridiculous, shameful, and no excuses can be made for the terror that will be brought. As we relate to this episode, I want to do a brief recap of last week where our friends concluded their battle at the Mothman Beachhead. We also want to talk about the new summer series episodes we're going to be releasing. Specifically, we have the summer campaign series I want to tease towards the end of this episode with about 7 campaign ideas in the works. Some of these might be tweaked and massaged a little bit as we get closer to the release of the campaigns this summer. That'll be about in June, and some of them will stretch the whole way through July and into August. But we've got 7 that I want to tease in this episode, and they're really good. So the last episode of our show, that would be episode 12 of the primary campaign we do. I guess I should take a step back just in case we have some new people listening to this one in particular. But our primary campaign, we record every Sunday. We're doing it now at 7 p.m. Eastern time, starts the pre-show, and then 7:30 p.m. we kick off on YouTube and Twitch with the actual episode. And this is an ongoing campaign my friends and I have been running for a little over a year now. It's set in Appalachia in the year 2105. So this is the current Fallout 76 timeline, which makes it very familiar for people who have already played Fallout, specifically 76. It makes it fairly familiar for people that are playing Fallout 4 as well. You just know some of the same models and the rest from Bethesda. There will be more campaign information coming out later this year from Modiphius about stuff set on the West Coast. So look out for that. There's going to be something to do with New Reno, which sounds fun. But for our campaign, we run it every Sunday, and it's set in Appalachia. My friends have recently acquired a boat. That was the big win from their last battle, is that they recovered a pre-war fishing boat, metal-sided, that is to say, and they can now travel with it up and down the Ohio River. But that came with a big cost. They grievously wounded an NPC in the process. The Mothmen had thrown their APC across the lot. It crashed and was pretty beat up. They were able to use Mac's newly acquired power armor to open up the APC and find Lena, the handy woman, injured and unable to pilot. I mean, she wasn't even conscious. So they got her on board the boat, and the boat sailed its way up to Hope. And on that journey, both Sam and Raven had interesting encounters with what we might be able to call a little bit of patrons of theirs. Raven had an encounter with some of the enlightened Mothman, and Sam had an encounter with Modus. So that's very interesting and exciting. Those were cool stories that I was able to elaborate on that last episode. Made me very happy to be able to get into those. Tonight's is going to be a little bit interesting. I don't have a massive amount of content lined up for them to do, specifically because, if anything, I felt that it was sort of necessary for the story to push the characters into this boat path to going to the Mothman and having that encounter. So tonight's a night where I'm definitely going to leave it to the comrades to sort of come up with what they want to do. And particularly, they should probably do some very intentional goal setting amongst themselves as a group. So I'm hopeful that there'll be some maintenance time tonight. I really hope that they'll use some of that opportunity to level up their characters. They'll be level 8. I reminded them if they want to rework any of their skills. I mean, now they have a boat and an APC. Someone on the team should probably have some piloting skills. So they might want to go and kind of take some sort of crash course if Lena can regain consciousness. Also, again, I was just having some one-offs with the comrades throughout the week that so much has been learned in this year plus of them playing that it's about time for character reworks to happen if they intend to keep with these ones going forward. And it sounds like that's the goal and intention. That they just need to decide if they want to keep their skills where they are, sort of scattered, if they want to stack them more. Some of them have already redone their skills recently. I think Raven was a great example of that in the last 4 months, I think, she redid her skills, which is very important. When I say that, I just mean instead of having 1s and 2s spread across the skill chart, it's about having more siloed and specialized skills, because you can get those up to level 6. So, if you have them very spread out, your dice rolls are going to be a lot harder to hit. We're talking target number right now. Target number, just as a refresher for people at home, is the attribute plus the skill. So, for example, if you want to hack a computer terminal, that is your science plus your intelligence. And then you need to roll under that number on the die. So if your intelligence is a 5 and your science is a 1, you need to roll under a 6 on a d20 to count that as a success. However, if your intelligence, let's say, is a 10 and your science, we'll keep your science at a 1, now you're rolling under an 11 because you're 10 plus 1. So you can see how much difference that makes in terms of attributes. But now if we talk about it with skills, so what I just say, let's say a 10 intelligence. Now what if your science skill is a 6? You need to roll under a 16 to get a success. And as you can imagine on a d20, I mean, that's significantly easier. So the math is just an example right there, that if you have your skills and your attributes stacked in appropriate ways, that's really powerful. Now, there's all kinds of conversations about min-maxing and the rest. Should you play that way? Well, I mean, it's a skill, it's a dice-based game. It's a chance-based game. So you do want to stack things in your odds whenever you can. You do get some strange narrative quirks in D&D style games and tabletops in general, where you don't have, or I'm sorry, I should say your character has a lot of proficiency in it. You might have done the task dozens of times, but if your stats aren't in your favor, you can still have some embarrassing failures in front of people. And in fact, I think that encouraged Sam to get a little bit of a rework early on, that Sky wanted Sam to be a medic and didn't stack the skills appropriately for that. And I think he reworked it because Sam had some strange encounters in the early game where he tried to do some medicine checks and just failed. Raven had to be very careful about her strength score because she's using a bow as her primary weapon, and that bow requires a strength of 6. Otherwise, they get a penalty. They get a difficulty increase to it. So that was something she had to be mindful of. And anyway, this is just my rambles about how I hope they'll take a look at these character sheets. Level 8's a pretty good, strong level. I mean, I guess they're all going to be like this from now on, but it feels just like level 8's pretty significant. A good time to rework things. A lot of perks to be had at this stage in the game. So we'll see how they handle all of that. It's a long sheet to keep tabs on. I would say if we have some people that are interested in participating in these open summer sessions that we're about to transition into talking about, if you're interested in any of these, I honestly recommend printing out or handwriting notes on your desk so that you have something tangible that you can look at when it comes time to check your perks. Not just perks, but traits and even gun attributes. There's a lot that's going on, and you just need it to be accessible to you. I'd really strongly recommend, if you do print something or you do draw something or write it down, I'd strongly recommend you group it by function. That is to say, group your combat pieces, group your sort of more passive, like survival type skills in a different area. Just so, again, you're not looking through this massive laundry list. Because at the end of the game, I mean, if you make it through all of the 21 established levels that are in the game, you should have something like 21 perks going on for your character, which is quite a lot to balance without the help of a computer. Alchemy doesn't take your perks into account when it does that stuff. So again, it's up to the player to sort of remember. And as the GM, I only have a faint inkling of what people's perks are. They tell me, and I ask very inquisitively when they level up, and sometimes I remember it. Like, I remember that Sam has Action Boy, and therefore, whenever he does a second major action on his turn, he doesn't get a difficulty increase from it. So I remember that, and I remember Mac has like Center Mass, and I have these vague outlines of what they can do, but it is a lot. So again, to anyone that's a player and you've got a GM, a DM, overseer of your own for a game like this, I would just say, make sure you're keeping your own list on the side that's easily accessible for you. I want to highlight and underscore that point. In VTTs, it can get a little bit monotonous going through the pages and trying to find that information on the backside of all of it. But if you have it somewhere nicely printed in front of you, that can be really handy. And I strongly recommend it per player because, I mean, your skills are going to be radically different than the next person's. There are even these cool skill cards, or that's the wrong word for it. They're perk cards, physical ones. I don't think I have them on the shelf behind me at all. I think they're across the room. But they're for this game. And if you're playing at a table, these would only do the core rulebook perks for you. I don't think they've made any for the Wanderers and Settlers guides, so you're a little bit in the dark with that. But still, it'd be cool to have these physical perk cards that you could pay attention to and all the rest. But now, I want to go ahead. I'm actually going to go ahead and, if you're listening to the Overseer's Log this week in recorded form over on YouTube or Twitch in the... what's the word for this? The digital spaces. We're streaming it. I don't know. My brain's just dying. It's been a long week. As if you're over here on YouTube or Twitch while we're streaming it, if you're seeing the video version of it anywhere, I'm going to go ahead and flip to our website for a second here. This is going to be the page that is mailed out to everyone this week on the Substack mailing list. This is the group of people that I've gotten the names from TikTok in the last week. I believe, does that mean that this is the last week for people to sign up? Yeah. Okay. So I'm compiling thoughts again. 3 days without power has my brain sort of wrecked this week. So what we're doing is I'm going to send this out come Monday, probably Monday. I want to get this out the door as soon as possible. The summer campaign series. Get this out into people's hands. There's going to be an accompanying email that talks a little bit about what we're looking at. But generally, this is just the Notion site I've teased before. It has a little introduction, tells people to read on, and find a form at the bottom for them to fill out. At the very top, it has 7 concepts for campaigns. Now, we've already got 24 people signed up, plus my 3 people in my group that I think want to play again if they've got their time allowed. So we've got somewhere near like 27 players. I'm sure some will dip out, and that's totally fine. People will have busy summers and all the rest, but that just means we need some extra ideas floating around. So a very popular one that we're certainly going to run is Vault of Tomorrow. I've talked about this before. It's about vault-tec interns. Really fun. It's going to be pre-war. The second one is Lost But Not Forgotten. Really excited for this. It's a 3-shot campaign. I've talked about that one before in good detail. I'll also point out that some of these have a linked TikTok video to them, so you can kind of see me talk about it. Not all of them, though. Mostly the first 4, though these other ones just aren't linked here yet. I'll get around to that. Number 3 is Defending the Homestead. This is helping, I think it's going to wind up being helping Rusty Dusty Bones defend his farm up there against some attacks. This is going to be a single-shot combat campaign. We've got another one, Blue Ridge Caravan Escort. It's getting supplies to the town of Hope. That one is a one-shot as well, just again to get people in there, to get them familiar with combat, all the rest. Number 5, I am over the moon for, and I think this is going to turn into something a lot bigger. Number 5 is Retaking Watoga. It will be a 3-session mini-campaign. It will take place across Foundation, the Appalachian Wasteland, and Watoga, time period 2105. It's going to be tense, action-packed, and high stakes. I think it's also going to be, this one's going to be pretty hardcore mode, to be honest. This one is one where I wouldn't be surprised if players died. I mean, technically that could happen in any of these campaigns. But Retaking Watoga is going to be a little bit of a higher level one. Maybe I'll even put a challenge rating on here at some point. The same with Escaping the Pit. This is about leaving the Pittsburgh ruins. They're going to be traveling down to Appalachia, join Union forces in the industrial hellscape of the pit, navigate toxic environments, negotiate with desperate factions, secure vital resources while avoiding the dangers of a twisted urban maze. That one also just has me really excited because all of these play into our larger campaign series. Again, the Under the Mothman's Embrace that we do every Sunday. The last one, I mean, again, you're going to see the crossover here. This one's called Shadows of Flatwoods. I think this one's the one that's going to get a little bit more tweaking. Like I have an idea for it. I just don't love how I've articulated it on this page, but I wanted to get it out there for people so people could sign up for what this will become. This one's going to be mystery, horror, and combat related. It says strange sightings and disappearances plague Flatwoods once again. Investigate supernatural activity and uncover the truth behind the Mothman's renewed presence in Appalachia. I think that's going to be really cool. It says here, ideal for players who enjoy supernatural mysteries and folkloric elements. I also have some notes in here about our session zeros we will host. These will be a mandatory attendance where people come and create their characters together. You're welcome to bring notes that you've already created, but this is the time that we kind of mesh them all together at the table, make sure all these ideas work with one another. I will ask to any new players listening to this, be open-minded and be patient and be willing to negotiate at the table when it comes to a session zero. Our goal is to make characters that mesh well together. This is the stage of ironing out any sort of edgelord sort of things that could be disruptive to the table, meaning this is the point where we set the direction, the tempo, and the tone for the characters. So we're going to be looking to see who merges and meshes well in this fit. And I don't mean so much the player themselves, I mean the character and what their goals are in the game, what motivates them to keep moving forward. I'll keep teasing back to the TikTok comment where the guy said, "I'm leaving the vault right away." And it's like, well, your character would die, So I think a friend of mine said, yeah, and a death claw comes by and just bites your head off, you're done. If the point of the mini campaign is to have fun staying in the vault and being pre-war, then you at least need to stay to those guidelines. The goal is not to kill all the fellow players either, right? We want to make something that people get along well and mesh. So just so people understand the goal of a session zero, character creation, connections between party members, setting expectations for game style and player involvement. We'll go over the safety rules and tools. We're going to go over, I said that wrong, it was safety tools and rules, but same thing backwards. We're going to go through guidelines and expectations and possibly one round of combat if we get people around to it. That's going to be tentative, very tentative. And if we do a round of combat, it's probably not going to be anything that's saved. It'll probably be very tutorial mode, so people don't have to worry about that. Uh-oh, I see a typo. No experience necessary, it says. Well, I need to fix that. Hey, there's a before you play area. This is going to have some extra stuff that will be expanded upon later when people are accepted. There's the new player's guide, which is something I'm working on the side. It's just a shortened version of the overarching rules to the game. It's not everything. Uh-oh. I think these are synced between each other, these necessars. The typo has come back at me for anyone listening in audio form. It's on another page too, but I'm pretty sure they're linked one and the same. We do require that people that are joining us have a computer, and that be a laptop or desktop. We require people to have a decent quality microphone and a quietish place to record because, as great-natured and intended as people can be, if their microphone is terrible or if they're in an environment that's very loud and somehow disruptive, well, it'll do exactly that to the table. It'll disrupt it and set it off, kind of delay other people's times. And we are keeping to a little bit of a time crunch for this. I've just got some IRL scheduling stuff this summer, of course, keeping with other people's schedules around me. And so we're going to try our very best to keep these episodes under 3 hours. So we ask people to be on time and prompt to the start of them. We'll do a pre-show that lets people come in, hang out, and get their mics checked and all the rest. And this is not going to be live, for the record. I say pre-show, but this is still going to be just in a Discord call together. This is going to be a great test, though, for who we can bring on to our more regular content. It is my ambition to host a second campaign throughout the week. Probably maybe sometime in the fall I would start that. I don't know. But this summer campaign is a twofer. I've said this from the very start. It's a great opportunity for new players to come in and learn the rules, to meet some other people in the community, and for us to vet who would be cool people to have by on the show for recurring rules or for their own campaign. But we can get into all that later. We'll talk about that many, many times between now and then. The last thing I really want to highlight on this page, and it is the biggest, and is the key thing everyone must do if you're interested in participating, fill out the want to join us form. It's asking for your email, your username. I ask you to keep this as best as possible to a single username, preferably a Discord one at that. I ask for that below as well, just to make sure people include it. Making sure all players are over the age of 18. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are younger from TikTok that want to play. And as much as we want to help get you oriented with other players, we're going to require for this one, everyone be 18 or older. A section here that checks, have you read the rules and the guidelines? Do you agree to those? Another section here asks if you've got the time to commit each week. Do you have the 3 hours? And it tells you how many sessions you would get. If you want to do a 3-shot campaign, that's going to be 4 meetings of 3 hours spread over a month. So, that would be like every Saturday for 1 month. which, because it's such a truncated timeline, we're trying to just make sure we're picking up the most serious of people who can do that. Do you have free time between the hours of noon and 9 p.m.? In fact, I've already got a bit of a window more set because of my own life. We're going to try and do Saturdays from 3 p.m. Eastern time to about 6 p.m. Eastern time. That is the number one going time slot. That would be the easiest for me to accommodate. So, and ultimately at the end of it, not to be pressuring other people's schedules, but at the end of it, it will ultimately, have to be something that I can fit around mine. What days are you able to attend? Again, we're leaning towards Saturday, but it gives you an option to highlight a couple more. You can pick 3 days out of the week. What months are you available? This is important too, because we're looking to know if you can't play until September, that's okay. You're welcome to mark that off. August, the same. Some people are traveling certain months. So just make sure to leave the box unchecked for whatever month you'd be traveling or unavailable. Just check the months you can actually attend. Have you played TTRPGs before? How many? And then here's the important part again, very big one. Campaign ideas you like the most. So you got 7 options. We're asking you to choose 4 of those 7 that you are most interested in. That way, again, I'll see what the overlap is and see where we can plug people in. I think all of these ideas are going to work out to be something really interesting. Even the ones that are short in concept, those are linked to a short campaign. So I think everything here is going to be fun. That Shadows of Flatwood, I've got some ideas, but that's the one that I'm like, I got to work on you a good bit more. That one's still cooking. We're taking Watoga. I'm just enamored with. Escaping the Pits one I really want to do, but I really also need to give that some more thought. So I can just say that the bottom 3 are definitely going to happen later in the summer. That's a warning for those. We're taking Watoga, Escaping the Pit, and Shadows of Flatwood. I could talk about those for another hour, but I won't do it. I'll just say those are going to happen later in the summer. This area I would ask you to spend some time on too. What characters do you see yourself playing? So this is something to lead up to your session 0, but an idea of what origins exist out there. I can open these. These are on Ziggy's. Well, you know what? I won't open that now. That's a whole other can of worms. We could talk about that in another episode. But you can look through these on your own time. There's some origin creators there that you can pick from. The thing that is noted here, but I'm going to say it again, make sure whatever origin you're picking is related to Appalachia in 2105 and specific to your campaign you're trying to get into. For example, the Vault of Tomorrow that's taking place in pre-war, you're obviously not going to be able to be an NCR ranger or something to that effect in that vault. It just wouldn't make sense. But for most of these other ones, there's a lot of flexibility. A lot of the ones that take place above ground, the Defended Encampment, Blue Ridge Caravan, Escort, like those ones are very open for that. Continuing down the list, I mean, again, this just asks you to put in as much information as you'd like. That'll give me a good bit of homework I can read up on, see what your interests are. And I can also help to massage any character ideas you have to better fit our specific campaign at the time. So we can work back and forth on that. Questions and comments area. And then at the very bottom, a video and privacy release that we are not going to stream those live, but we are going to probably put them up on YouTube later if they go well. And so it's just asking for very generic confirmation that you're okay with us sharing the video footage and all the rest, microphone, blah, blah, blah. Here is our little vault boy at the bottom to give you a greeting that you've hit the very end of the page, and that's it. I've taken enough of your time today to walk you through this, I hope. I think that's probably a full Overseer's log for today. It's getting to be about 4 o'clock my time. This is the latest episode I've ever recorded. It's on a Sunday instead of a Saturday. So I've actually done worse this week in terms of timing. But again, you can thank the U.S. electrical grid and the failure to maintain it as a big part of that. So wishing a lot of safety to the people out there that are also affected by these storms. I know there's people that are around here that still don't have their power on yet, which is madness. I'm sure, those people are probably the furthest out, but that's just unacceptable. And so, yeah, everyone look out for one another. Take care of your neighbors where you can. Take care of your friends and family when it's a possibility for you. And we hope to see you tonight. Tonight we'll be back at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch, and then the YouTube stream will kick off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So 7 p.m. on Twitch, 7:30 on YouTube. We'll dive into all of it. And yeah, that's going to do it for this week's Overseer log. Stay safe, everyone out there. Be good, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.